This video is brought to you by box.co.uk, Birmingham-based retailer that stocks over 50,000 products that are supplied throughout the UK. Hello everyone, this is Imran from Gaming Till Disconnected, and in this video we're going to be looking at the MSI R9 390X in its CROSSFIRE configuration. We won't be going into any depth about the design or the hardware in this video, as we've already covered that in the individual card review, which you can view by clicking on the annotation on the screen now, or by using the link in the description below. Before I continue, here's our testing setup, which we also used for the single MSI R9 390X review. Although we mentioned this in the single GPU review, I'll mention it again here. Depending on your motherboard, setting up CROSSFIRE can be an issue, as the first card can block the second PCIe x16 slot. However, if your motherboard spaces out the x16 slots, then you should be fine. This shouldn't be an issue for most ATX motherboards, as you should be able to install the second card in the third PCIe x16 slot. But be cautious if you have an M-ATX motherboard that has a PCIe layout of x16, x1, x16 and x1. Alternatively, you could purchase a PCIe extension cable adapter or riser card. For our test, we installed the second card in the third PCIe x16 slot, as the first MSI R9 390X essentially occupied the second x16 slot. This actually aided with airflow, as there was plenty of room between the cards. However, as we mentioned in the single card review, we found that the MSI R9 390X ran a little hotter than we're used to. Thankfully, with the help of the Afterburner app, we were able to adjust the fan speed to maintain a temperature that was more suitable. Now, in the UK we've had some very hot days recently, which unfortunately meant a major issue in the hottest days of our summer in our test room, which we still need to kit out to keep it cool. And when I say major issue, what I mean is that benchmarking the MSI R9 390X in CROSSFIRE with 3D Marks or Unigine Heaven and Valley caused the whole system to crash because it just got too hot. It also meant that a lot of the initial results were skewed, as we would get one result when we first turned the rig on, when it was relatively cool, and a considerably different result after a few tests. Our solution to this was to run the benchmarks at night, when the room temperature was much cooler. As for gaming, on games like Alien Isolation, Battlefield 4, Shadow of Mordor and Tomb Raider, we were getting well above 100 frames per second, with all the graphical settings maxed out at a resolution of 3440 by 1440. It's only on games like Witcher 3 and Crysis 3 at MSAA x8 that the frame rates weren't as high. That being said, Crysis 3 was still running smoothly at 44 frames per second, and although Witcher 3 was running at 38 frames per second, it was not running smoothly at an ultra graphics setting. There were a lot of frame stutters and frame drops that were very noticeable and proved very distracting when trying to play the game. These issues were amplified with any fast-paced action on screen, like getting into fights or riding the horse. Perhaps AMD will release an update to address these issues. But in defense of the R9 390X in CROSSFIRE, I did notice that at medium and lower graphic settings, that the frame stutters and frame drops largely if not entirely disappeared, and the game ran smoothly. We unfortunately couldn't get the internal benchmarks to work for GTA 5, and we ran out of time to prepare and perform a manual benchmark on the game. However, outside of benchmarking, I did get a chance to mess around in GTA 5, and my experience was a lot better than it was with Witcher 3. What I can say is, with all the settings maxed out, at a resolution of 3440 by 1440, I was averaging about 33 frames per second, and as you would expect, reducing the graphics setting would get you a higher frame rate, or if you were on a lower resolution. Also, don't forget that you can view all these benchmarks and more in the written counterpart to this video. As always, the link can be found in the description below. On the whole, we saw a massive increase in performance with two MSI R9 390X when compared against one MSI R9 390X, which is hardly surprising. The system benchmark showed that the performance was either double or close to being doubled. With 3D Marks, you'll notice that the physics result stayed largely the same. This is due to the same processor being used. The Unigine Heaven score at a resolution of 3440 by 1440 with the graphics setting at Ultra produced a low increase in performance than it did at the high setting at the same resolution. Other than this anomaly, the rest of the system benchmarks showed an average increase of performance by 60%. With games, the increase of performance was there, about 60 to 100% on most games, at most resolutions, on most graphics settings. But there seemed to be some issue with Witcher 3 on the CROSSFIRE configuration. There was either negligible increase in performance on the higher graphics settings, or in the case of 1080p, there was a decrease in performance in comparison to the single R9 390X. There are various rumours and articles about the issues of AMD cards, especially the new 300 series not running optimally on games developed by studios who have worked closely with NVIDIA, but that's another story. Let's just say that the R9 390X CROSSFIRE configuration is not optimised for Witcher 3 at the time of this review. However, as I said, lowering the graphics settings can almost eliminate this issue, but I doubt you want to use two R9 390X at a medium graphics setting. Before I get to the conclusion, I just wanted to mention that we're looking for writers for our website and possibly some content creators, so message us if you're interested. Once again, links in the description. Anyway, two MSI R9 390X is roughly £200 cheaper than two MSI GTX 980s, and perform at the same level if not higher. It's clear to see that you get an incredible bang for your buck with this configuration, but before you go out buying two MSI R9 390X, don't forget that there are some drawbacks which we stated earlier. If you can ignore them, then great, I think you'll be incredibly satisfied with this setup. However, if you can't deal with this drawback, then maybe save your money for the NVIDIA equivalent, two GTX 980s. But let me know what you think. Oh, and before I go, we're in the middle of testing the MSI GTX 980 Ti, so if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe not to miss out. Thank you for watching everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please give it a like and share if you think someone will find it useful. It really helps us out and we're always grateful. If you think there's something that we could do differently, then please let us know in the comments below. If you like the content we put up, then please subscribe to us and change your subscription preferences to be notified when we upload a video. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Google+. And be sure to check out our other review videos. Thanks to box.co.uk for sponsoring this video. So if you're in the UK and you're thinking about the MSI R9 390X, then you should definitely check them out. They're a great bunch and they're supporting the channel. Once again, thanks for watching, and as always, have a good day and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.